Lewis.
My name is Ashton Shearer.
Okay, my name is Connie Kabongo and I'm part of the Art Starts program.
The Graffiti Transformation Project is funding that the City of Toronto provides to organizations to specifically create murals around the city. And with the money they give us, we hire youth from specific communities to work with a professional artist and a project coordinator to identify a theme in the community that they want to explore and create a permanent mural on a wall.
My favorite part, because I've never done this before or seen it before, was using trash to make things, make things actually beautiful and like worth looking at, and it's just trash. Like, it's just garbage stuff we found. We don't have to buy anything.
This year we decided to work instead with more sculptural forms, using recycled materials to do public interventions, and then finally, the end result would be a permanent sort of mural piece, but that would reflect the activity that had happened before the sculpture activity. So we hired 5 young people, 3 of them who live directly in the Alexandra Park community, 2 who live on the outskirts, 1 in the Kensington Market area and 1 in Chinatown. And then we also hired 7, throughout the program, 7 professional artists who do public practice work. And throughout the 6 weeks, we did different projects with the different artists. So the group of 5 youth would work maybe for 1 week or for 2 days, depending on the different project, on a project in public with the artist who was already like really involved in that practice. What it allowed is for the young people to have like a really direct mentorship from an artist who has a lot of experience in that specific area.
Alexandra Park is, in my opinion, one of the most unique cities, one of the most unique communities in the city itself. If you drive by, this is one of the oldest housing communities in Ontario. Very unique because of its location, downtown central Toronto. It's bordered by the Atkinson Co-op itself, the Alexandra Park community. It's bordered by the Esplanade, Queen, and Bathurst. And unless you are driving on Dundas, you cannot see the actual housing community. It's enclosed. This was an old model. This is a flawed model that people thought at the time, the builders thought that this was a way to kind of, keep lower income families away from the rest of the community. What that has done over the past 25 years, essentially, is really backfire and create kind of a real breeding ground for some of the social issues that you see arise typically from the housing communities.
When you take a look at the way this neighborhood is built and the assumptions that were made in the 1960s about how people wanted to live in the downtown core, they made some critical mistakes. All kinds of problems. And the houses now, getting close to 50 years old, have reached the end of their physical life. These houses weren't built as well as the houses across the street were. The Victorian houses were built better. They last longer. These houses don't. There's a huge opportunity for commercial development in this community. This neighborhood is thriving with business entrepreneurial ideas. All you have to do is look at the scouting court containers on Dundas Street to know that this neighborhood has the ideas and the product to sell, and the imagination to sell, but it doesn't have the space to sell. Because one of the things we know about this neighborhood, which is one of the truly astonishing things, and all of you are the names attached to this, is that this public housing neighborhood, however you want to call it, sends more young people to university than any other public housing project in the province. In fact, if you could chart it across the country, you'd probably find you're off the charts around the country. You guys are succeeding where other communities are not.
When we started this project in the summer, the Youth Street Art Mentorship, we knew that part of what we were going to be sort of looking to find out more about and get involved in was talking to people about the Revite and trying to learn a bit about it and facilitate the creation of some public artworks that might help us start to think about the space and also open up conversations about the way the space is being used, the way it might be used in the future, how it can sort of these spaces can be used more creatively. And these are sort of in-between spaces, especially in social housing areas or zones where there's been this sort of mass planned, large-scale plan. There are these sort of in-between spaces that are sort of shared, sort of public, but also not always well designed or kept up. And but there's spaces where there's like huge potential, and especially in social housing places, they're not like taken over by companies like you might find it everywhere else, you know.
We're here trying to deliver a program, but the truth of the matter is that we leave and we go back to our communities, and young people are here left within the community itself to work through the issues and challenges that are presented by the developers having interest in the community, and this community suddenly becoming the hot topic at City Hall in terms of the revitalization process. It's important for us that these programs, that we continue to deliver these programs, because hopefully we can foster a sense of community pride.
So with the youth, what I did was a different project each day. So I worked with them for 4 days, and we did 4 different projects. And the first one I did was a poster pocket plant project, which is one that I started a couple years ago with my friend Eric Chung. And the two of us came up with this design so that you cut into illegal advertising posters that are found all around the city and in other cities as well, fold them over and turn them into pockets, which can then be planted and turned into these unexpected green walls in the city in spaces that are normally filled with invasive ads. And the kids seem to have a really, well, not even kids really, they're youth or young adults, I guess, had a really good time creating those.
My favorite part of the program was working with the artists in a mentorship way, non-hierarchical, and like learning what kind of styles of art that they work with and how it can like influence my art, and also like the public factor of it, so influence the people that get to walk by on the street and see that art.
I like the group, outgoing. It feels like they're more friends instead of like people you work with or whatnot. Like the supervisor, Josh, is really cool.
I helped the group go and document throughout the whole program the sculptures as they were being interacted with by community members, or maybe even while we were building them. And at the end of the project, we blew them up really big, these images of like the playground and the shrine and the pocket plants. And we turned that into a mural. Like the mural is basically all these impermanent interventions and public gestures and little sculptures that we had made that, you know, in 4 months they'll all be gone. But this document in them will be there forever as like sort of an example of what happened, like the story that happened, but also it'll tell the story of like what can be done with like garbage materials if you get really fun with it, or you know what can be, how an advertisement wall can turn into a green wall, and like so there's other narratives that are there too that stay true to those original gestures, and I'm pretty excited about that.